Welcome to IT Live, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Joe Cook. That's Justin Wells. Ian Boyd will be joining in just a minute. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet. Make sure you head to InsideTexas.com. Join for 50% off. Use that first link in our promo. Sign up. Get the best portal intel, the best recruiting intel, because that's coming up soon as well. The best everything you can get covering Texas Longhorns football, roster building, everything. And if you have not done that, want to get an easy way to get to that link, go ahead and click on that, or scan that QR code there in the top left corner. That'll get you to the sign up link, 50% off the Inside Texas annual membership. And Justin, they've been doing work in the portal. I know it sounds like East Texas allergies are doing some work on you, but Texas, the dead period lifts today. And even before, we got a little bit of news yesterday of Jonte Newman jumping in for the Longhorns. And, you know, that's, I think with Nick Brooks leaving and Jonte Newman jumping in, you can kind of view it as a one-for-one replacement and, you know, celebrate it like you would if you were celebrating Nick Brooks coming back next year.
Essentially, you know, you're trading a guard for a tackle depth. This is a project. This is a developmental piece that's going to have to take time. He's not going to be expected to be in the rotation anytime soon. Yeah, that's part of the portal building. You know, you build these rosters out with your recruiting classes, but sometimes you got to fill in holes. When you've got guys that decide to exit right before the portal closes, you got to fill a need. Jonte Newman can do that. Texas liked him in high school out of Bridgeland. He was a good prospect. He just hasn't, you know, found his footing yet at College Station, and so now he gets his shot in Austin.
Yeah, I'm not going to be – I mean, I think Homer and I, when we talked about this, we were pretty honest about it. It's like, you know, this is part of the depth that they definitely needed to add throughout the course of this portal cycle, and especially with Nick Brooks leaving. And I even explained it right after Nick Brooks left. Like, you had 15 O-linemen heading into this year. I think at this juncture, you either have 12 or 13 expected to come back. And, you know, at that point, you just got to find your 8. Now, there's value and utility to, if you have 15 guys, then you're probably going to find 8 good ones in that group. It doesn't always work that way. Whereas if you get the 12 to 13 that maybe you want and you feel a lot better about, then, okay, maybe you have a higher chance of getting that 7 to 8 that you need for a given season.
I agree. I think with Jonte Newman, there's not a lot to bemoan about it.
Yeah,
it's a depth piece. I mean, it's fun because it's a new commitment, and again, this is a kid we liked in high school. I remember Charlie and I had written up some stuff about him and interviewed him. He was a kid we really liked in high school, and he just couldn't get it there. But yeah, it's a balancing act, Joe. And I think all these coaches are, I don't want to say winging it, but I think they're all figuring it out as they go. And so that's kind of, you're trying to find that perfect balance of high school recruiting and blend it with portal. But at the same time, Texas isn't done. They're going to host a couple guys this weekend, if not a few today. And man, it's just, you got to find the balance. That's all.
One thing I'm checking real quick. Apparently there's like a college basketball point shaving scandal. Just making sure that Texas is not in there.
You mean this week?
It just dropped today. And I think it was the one with the University of New Orleans, who Texas played, I think, last year. And players from that New Orleans team were accused of shaving points. So making sure, you know, it's
NCAA, it's always good when you tell your players, hey, go gamble on college sports. That's a great idea.
Use promo
now
code.
That you have NIL, use promo code NCAA-REF.
Oh man, Vic Schaefer. I'll get off this subject real fast, but Vic Schaefer had the best quote ever on it. He's like, "If you play at Texas, you're on the board, and you got to be careful."
Look what Chris Bennett just told us.
Oh man, no. I think he's at a different New Orleans school. I think he may be at like Xavier.
There's not a lot of New Orleans colleges.
I think he may be at Xavier University, New Orleans, which I think is a black Catholic college. Roaster, thanks for popping in. Bobby Petronic, Are we getting nihilist shaved Ian Boyd or hopeful 5 o'clock shadow Ian Boyd? I mean, they're nihilists. They're nothing to be afraid of. But 5 o'clock shadow Ian Boyd, definitely one to be afraid of.
Yeah.
But Utah Horn, you popped in here. You had a good question. Do you see Sark taking more of the 2026 class route where they sign 6 to 7 high-end blue chip guys and the rest are developmental guys? I've been going back and forth on this because I think there's such a high variance when you go the portal route, because everybody's looking at Indiana and they're thinking, okay, we have to be like this. Indiana's secret sauce, aside from great Curt Cignetti evaluations, is just experience. And I don't know if there's always going to be a guarantee that you'll get that right combination of experience and talent to come together like it did this year for Indiana. Whereas if you can just keep building talent and developing talent, it's so hard because it's 85. Like, there's so many different variables involved with it, to where I'm kind of on the idea where you're just kind of thinking like, you know what? The Miami route may be the one to take. Like, nobody's talking about the other side of the national championship game. I mean, Indiana's.
You mean the one with the 25 NFL prospects on the roster?
Yeah, like nobody's talking about the Indiana side of, or the Miami side of things that's been top 10 recruiting and, you know, very savvy portal classes.
You know, Utah Hall says, you know, Utah Horn, my boy, he says, I don't want Texas to turn into FSU, Florida State, that relies too much on the portal. Everyone is going to rely on the portal equally. This has nothing to do with, it's not a Florida State thing. Yeah, Mike Norvell went way too much in it, a couple years ago, and they're still trying to swim out of that. That's not what Texas is doing at all. They're filling holes. That's all they're doing, is filling holes and filling gaps. But at some point, everybody's going to have to rely on that. It's just it's the new college football. And I think we've got 5 o'clock shadow, Ian. So There you go, Bobby.
And the other thing about Mike Norvell is that he's not a good high school recruiter. That's the thing.
You would think he would be too, especially with the whole Paul Wall thing. You would, you know, sitting sideways, you would think it would be relatable, but it's not. It doesn't work. Maybe in Memphis, but not in Tallahassee.
Not Southwest Houston or Southeast Houston. But the thing, like, he just is not good at high school, so he has to paper over in the portal. Whereas schools like Texas, like, they have a decent foundation from their high school recruiting, and then they add to it with the portal. Norvell and even Lane, to an extent, is just kind of all portal. And that's going to change for Lane probably at LSU just because of access to talent. But I do think that Norvell, his problem is just he's not a good high school recruiter. Ian, as you're jumping into the conversation, is there I'm trying to formulate a take that instead of trying to replicate instead of trying to replicate Indiana, Texas should continue and kind of keep using the Miami formula of building depth through recruiting, building on the lines, and then poaching skill talent, whether that be quarterback or elsewhere, through the transfer portal. So I'm kind of curious what you're thinking. I feel like Miami's just an under talked about aspect of this national title game when everybody's focusing on a significant, you know, change in this sport with Indiana, but we're also ignoring that Miami's right there.
I guess probably because we all figure Indiana's about to whoop them.
That's most of it.
And so it's like, nobody wants to talk about modeling the team that we all think is about to get jacked up in this final game. Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. Like, in the lines, Texas needs to be aiming to build through recruiting. Partly because increasingly it's like Texas is trying to do on the offensive line. I just published an article about this at InsideTexas.com for subscribers who can join for, what is it, like $1 or something?
50% off annual price.
Good sales pitch.
50% off. Yep. Great deal. the trick with Texas is that Texas is like trying to play like 3 tackles at a time. And they're like, you know what would be the easiest way to field 3 offensive tackles in 2026 is if we get one out of the portal so we can move one of the ones we already have to guard, Brandon Baker. And that's a really tough way to build an offensive line because you're relying on volume at the hardest position to find, which is tackle. And so, I mean, they absolutely have to do that in recruiting. Apparently they have to make up for it in the transfer portal if they don't get it right in recruiting. I think the visits and the offer to Jonte Newman and the Jackson State kid are about like not only like if you get Seton and then you play Baker, Gooseby, and Seton and like Robertson and then whoever in 2026, that's going to be pretty good. That could probably do the job, right? But then you lose Gooseby and Seton, and you're left with just Baker, and Robertson's gone too. So then what? So they're trying to backfill with like Newman or this Jackson State kid so that they can also develop tackles to slide inside to guard for the future and not have to go ham in the transfer portal again. I don't know. I think that they are playing on super hard mode with the way that they're trying to do offensive line.
I've been saying in our portal thread over at Inside Texas, it's like once you hop on the portal carousel for offensive line, you're kind of stuck on it for a while, unless you get like a transformational class like that 2022 one was, because you're probably getting 1 or 2 year rentals over and over and over again. And then those guys phase out. And the depth you were building that you didn't really have the chance to play all that much, well, maybe who knows if it's up for the task. So I think once you jump on the portal train for offensive line, whether that be for depth or whether that be for starters,
for a place like Jackson State, it's for depth. Just like Dylan Sikorsky, just like some of these other guys are looking at. This is a depth piece. They're not looking for a starter at Jackson State. They're looking for backfilling, like Ian's talking about.
Right, and I think there's
especially a kid like Barton who is really strong, really raw, and it has a ton of upside. I would like a kid like that. It's almost like getting a JUCO kid. He's got some experience. He's played some ball at the college level instead of bringing in an 18-year-old that's never seen the other side of a football field in college.
Right, and even though they're doing that, that doesn't mean they're good. Like they need starters from the portal, and if they're relying on guys like Mason Barton to be a starter in the portal, or even Dylan Sikorsky, like that's probably not the best sign for them. They need to find actual starters, and that's something that we know that they're working on. And that's something we'll find out probably more about today as the dead period's lifted. One of the big questions, of course, for this portal, this last little stretch of the window being open and players trying to find their next spot is obviously about Seton at Colorado. Looks like he's staying at Colorado. I think Dem Horns, correct me if I'm wrong, unless there's been any reports out there. I know NACO said Colorado's trying to keep him. And of course, Colorado's trying to keep him.
Yeah.
Like that, and anybody would be trying to keep a player like that. I don't believe he's officially popped up in the portal as of yet. Colorado, from the time that Seton goes up to them and says, I want to leave, to 48 hours later, they have to enter him in. It's not from when he posted that Instagram video. It's from when he gives them the paperwork. It's not exactly clear when that happened, but I don't think there's talk about Texas and Oregon and other schools being lined up if the expectation wasn't for him to hit the portal. He's got to do it. That's the thing. But we're waiting on that. And Justin, you got to feel like Texas is in a strong spot for Seton.
They absolutely are. They're going to be in as strong a position with Seton as they want to be, and as much as Jordan allows. He's going to control this. I don't know if you guys remember, but his recruitment was fun. Ian really enjoyed the process, and so and I think you're going to see a little bit of that with here. But I don't think it stretches out too long. You ideally want to be on campus when the spring semester starts. That's not far away, guys. That's not far at all. And so I think Seton and his agents and his circle know exactly what they're doing. They're going to play out the process. They're going to look out for each offer. We know Texas and Oregon have got a gleam in their eye for him. It's just going to be a battle to see who can get him. And I don't think it's going to take very long, fellas.
Ian, I know did left tackle remain in the Space Force, or is it in its own ranks these days?
Yeah, it's in there.
So
really
if you have I know you talked a little bit about the 3 tackle idea on an offensive line, but if you have a tackle room that looks like Gooseby, Seton, Baker, you're the envy of pretty much the rest of the country, aren't you?
Yeah, they did have Gooseby, Banks, and Cam Williams
at one time
in 2024, and Hayden Connor, who was like kind of your third tackle on the field. And that worked pretty well. He still had some issues against top teams. I don't know. I think Texas. I think that the way they're trying to do it is the hardest possible way to do it. I think that they could pull it off. They've got things lined up to pull it off, but it's the hardest possible way to do it, and I don't love how it would look in 2027. Not that we're super concerned about that right now.
Yeah, you can only look down the road a little bit. Like I said, once you jump on, you're kind of riding that portal train for more than you want to, but it's just, if you can build it through 2020 for 2026, you're fine. And then that's the thing. Not only do we understand that they got to spend money on it, they're going to have to, but Justin, one thing that the drum that we've been pounding over at Inside Texas is like, look, they had when Jaden Ball and Isaac Brown never entered the portal, Texas was able to pivot pretty quick to 2 high quality players. When linebacker went whatever direction it did, Rasheem Biles and Justin Cryer formulated pretty quickly. They're still working on edge, and just the idea that they did that for all the other positions, but not for offensive line, that doesn't pass a smell test, especially as we expect to see more names pop up as far as visiting goes over the next couple of days.
No, Texas has had a plan. What wound up happening was the Texas fans built up this expectation that once the portal opened, Texas was just going to get everybody they wanted, because we knew this was going to be the offseason comparative to the last 2 or 3 where Sark was going to have to go in and fix some stuff. And so fans were expecting the big names to pop in early and commit early. Well, we're in the new college football. That's not going to happen. You have agents now. And so if an agent let Cam Coleman come to Austin and not visit another school, that's not doing a good job with your client. So that's part of it as well. Offensive line, they've got a plan there just as much as they've had anywhere else. If anything, I think the offensive line plan is probably the most important. It's the most detailed, and it's the most backfilled because of seeing a guy like a Jonte Newman have to come in because Nick Brooks decided, at the last minute he wanted to, try to go play tackle somewhere else. Completely understand that. It's the O-line is where it's at. That's the most important part. And the biggest thing is you've got probably the best quarterback in the country coming back for 2026. So why wouldn't you want to surround him with the best possible 5 guys to block in front of him? If you put 5 guys like that in front of Arch Manning, that's when hardware comes to Austin.
Ian, is that a good jumping off point to start diving into your article, you think?
Yeah, it's all about offensive line and what they're trying to do. So we're already there.
Let's do it in just a second. Before we do, a quick word from Academy.
Fast one.
Same-day delivery powered by DoorDash.
I pull it up. The title of the article you alluded to earlier, what does a championship offensive line look like? And this is going to get another mention in 2020 Alabama, but that's where you start the article, and that's kind of what Texas fans have hoped to see for a long time, yet still haven't.
I searched for an old tweet I made in 2020, and I couldn't find it, where I was like, whoever hires Steve Sarkisian after this season better make sure they get his offensive line too. Obviously, I had no idea that it would be Texas. But that has borne out pretty well. They showed actually a lot of smarts and know-how early on. It looked very promising. Like they were throwing shots in 2021 when they did not have an impressive offensive line. They were still able to buy time to throw shots. Then they got Williams, Banks, Neto, that huge class of 2022, where it looked like, oh, they absolutely can build an Alabama offensive line at Texas. Look at these guys that they're recruiting. And then 5 years in, it looks like my impressions from watching Alabama were a little more precise, which is that it's been extremely hard to do that. And they might pull it off because of the transfer portal. They have a good plan to pull it off for 2026 in the transfer portal, but it's tough. And then in this article, I look at what the 3 potential expanded playoff era champions did to build their lines, which are all pretty different.
So that's what Ohio State, that's Miami, and that's Indiana.
Yep.
You mentioned that, and you already kind of talked about that piece I highlighted there, the 2024 line, to where I don't know, it was 3 tackles and 2 guards, basically. You had, Banks, you had Williams, you had Hayden Connor, who's kind of a tackle playing guard, for lack of a better term, and then you had DJ Campbell and Jake Majors. So let's go through some of the different offensive lines. And when you look at Ohio State and Miami, you have 2 offensive-minded head coaches, and I think Cignetti technically is, but he's become a CEO, especially considering he's kept his coordinators for basically forever. But when you look at, a Ryan Day offensive line, and I think you point out there's a lot of injury that made this line look the way it did at the end of the season. But this offensive line is basically all built from recruiting, correct?
Yeah, they did have a transfer at left tackle, Josh Simmons, who was like a NFL prospect that they found at, I can't remember where, like somewhere like New Mexico or something like that, somewhere obscure. It was a smaller G5 school, but then he got hurt against, I think, Oregon or some point midway through the year. So Donovan Jackson bumped out there. When you look at it now, you're like, well, yeah, the 5-star kid played left tackle, no duh. Donovan Jackson played left guard for like 3 years at Ohio State. He didn't play left tackle until the last half of that championship season. Some of these other guys like Montgomery and I think Hinsman did not play for most of the year. They got in there at the end of the year when they were like just trying to find guys. But the benefit to Ohio State was that everybody was redshirted and everybody was talented out of high school. So they had guys that were talented and had been around for a minute and developed in the system. And so they were able to kind of patch this line together on the fly. And by the end of the year, it was really clicking.
And one of the other big things is you have the Super Friends offense, Justin. You have Travian Henderson and Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and all those guys that help. It's all a symbiotic relationship, and that helps when you have those types of weapons overcome playing a left guard at left tackle.
Yes. I mean, Jeremiah Smith covers a lot of any holes or ills that you may have on your offense. Jeremiah Smith's good at covering those up. Ohio State's never going to lack for those guys on the offensive skill side.
Speaks to Ian's outside wide receiver theory. This real quick from Jason Oblinsky. Sorry, but Sark and Flood have not added a single good O-lineman in the portal era. We've seen several viable options go elsewhere. The staff seems unwilling to treat O-line like it does skill. I mean, you're not wrong right now, but there's time for this to be proven inaccurate. We'll see. I mean, if Jordan Seaton ends up becoming a Longhorn, does this stay true? It has to happen. But
this was the same thing we heard before Cam Coleman committed. They weren't treating wide receiver like they were the other positions. And then what happened? Boom, they did.
They were committed to their message of we haven't taken a portal O lineman because they believed in their developmental ability and recruiting ability. That didn't cash, and they had to pivot. And their shortcomings forced them to pivot, but at least they're pivoting and not hitting their head against the wall. So we'll see what becomes of it, but it is a pivot nonetheless. And then, thanks, Ryan Nelson. It was Emeka Egbuka. I forgot about that. It was him.
He was.
Still crazy skill talent. Then you get to this year's Miami, Ian, where you've got a little bit of everything. Is there a name missing? Oh, no, Marioga is a right tackle. Never mind. Okay. So you get to this year's O-line for the Hurricanes, and kind of like all the with the exception of actually, I'll let you explain because it looks a little different when you think about experience.
They're all pretty experienced. Like McCoy and Cooper have been there for a long time. Markel Bell played 2 years at a Mississippi JUCO, Hodges, I want to say. I can't remember. And then this is his second year at Miami. Brockermeyer, this is his first year at Miami, but he started last year at TCU. And however you say Francis's last name, he was a starter as a freshman. So this is his third year as a starter.
And he's a 5-star. Like he was the crown jewel of one of those classes a while ago.
His name has Maul in it for a reason.
He's really the only super highly touted recruit of this whole bunch. Like Bell was rated pretty high for a lineman, I guess. Brockermeyer sort of was, but a lot of that was.
No, we remember what happened to Brockermeyer.
Everybody just wanted him for his brother, right?
Texas did.
When his brother was hurt, they both went to TCU. So it kind of felt like TCU took a flyer on James also for a chance at a healthy brother.
They both transferred.
Yeah.
Because they both went to Bama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the first two schools that took James Brockermeyer also took his brother. That's my point. I think Miami was the first school to take him because they're like, we want Brockermeyer because we want James, not because we're trying to get a shot at his brother, right?
But yeah, by this time, James had bloomed. He was a little bit of a late bloomer compared to Tommy, and it looks like James is going to be the one that's rocking in the NFL for a while.
My point is only that his recruiting ranking is decent out of high school, but I think it was inflated by the fact that everybody was trying to get his brother.
You could say that, but then he's actually proving you out by doing what he's doing now. Maybe it was legit.
I mean, he's been a good
supposed to be at this point in his career.
I think it's phenomenal because that's the kid. He was always the guy, the other guy. Tommy was always the big deal, and James is going to be the one that turns out to be a badass. I love that.
Anyway, not a super recruited line. They're all, except for James, they're all massive, though. If you scroll down, you can see how big they all are. This is all anybody wants to talk about with Miami. 6'9", 345, 6'6", 325. Next side, 6'6", 345, 6'6", 335. They're all just big dudes, and they all just like move straight ahead, and they just slowly push you out of the way. But they were not super highly recruited guys for the most part. And it kind of took them a while to get to this point.
Anybody 6'9", 345 took time to develop.
Yeah, good point.
What?
Yeah, a lot of reps.
Hey, did you see the speed rush from Indiana last weekend? Weekend before when they played the left tackle? I think it was All World from Oregon. Did you see how bad he abused him, Ian? That number 9, the guy coming, dude. He's going to do the exact same thing to this left tackle from Miami, if not worse.
Excited to watch it. Now let's and Ian, one other thing, it's like, how do you kind of gauge or factor in Mario Cristobal, who was a Saban O-line coach, who was always been an O-line guy by trade? How do you factor in his influence on this team and this offensive line, the way it was built?
I think what we're going to see with all three of these lines is that they had a lot of vision that guided the evaluation and development of the players so that they could build them through developmental process or through an evaluation process into a championship line. So, I mean, it had everything to do with it, right? Him and his assistant Mirabal, they have a vision and a process. Yeah.
Mirabal is a dude, and he's also, I think I saw, what is it, that Christopher Columbus High School put out a graphic, and it's him and Mirabal, it's Cristobal and Mirabal and the Mendozas and like several Hurricane players. Like, that's a high school that's having a lot of fun.
Hey, if Indiana wins, real quick, I'm sorry, Joe. If Indiana wins the national championship on Monday night, does Fernando Mendoza just say, guys, you really should have let me walk on here?
Or they should have taken me and not Carson Beck.
Dude, the guy grew up a mile away from the school, tried to walk on twice, and they told him to get lost. This is the ultimate comeback story. I love that.
Don't we have some of those of our own? Like
almost every year.
That Buccaneers quarterback, I believe, has a story that's very similar to that.
And that Giants
his
quarterback
dad was terrible with the helicopter.
The Giants quarterback
didn't stop Mac with some other guys.
The Fox Sports analyst, the Chiefs quarterback. Any chance we pursue Jordan Church from Louisville? I think that's a name that just popped in.
Is he related to Eric? That's what I need to know.
Not by first glance. So this was a name. We've seen Louisville kind of play some odd games of footsie, and they're with the portal. They haven't lost a lot of guys I think they wanted to keep. I know they added a name on this list at Ohio State right guard, like what's his name? Tegra Shabola. I think he committed to Kentucky, or no, he committed to Kentucky, so not Louisville. I don't know. Yeah. I think it's a name to keep an eye on, though. But now, Ian, let's look at the Indiana
Coogan, baby,
offensive line.
Zero.
How did Notre Dame let him go? I'm sorry, Ian. How did Notre Dame let Coogan go?
Zero. I looked into that for this. Zero blue chips except Zen Mikulski, who could not get on the field for Ohio State. And he transferred in because Ohio State just like wouldn't play him. They're like, he's not good enough. Bray Lynch, 3-star from Westlake High School, not offered by Texas. Pat Coogan started for Notre Dame at center last year on their championship runner-up team. And then Notre Dame was like, hey, man, you're probably not going to start next year. We have other more talented guys. Transfers to Indiana. He's back in the championship game. Drew Evans, Wisconsin walk-on that Indiana's coach knew about because he'd been at Wisconsin. Carter Smith, no-name 3-star recruit from wherever in Ohio. All of them 4th or 5th year players, all of them redshirted, all of them chosen to build a specific offensive line and approach. It's pretty similar to what Tom Herman was doing at Texas. And some of the players look kind of like the guys that Tom Herman ended up with at Texas. But it's working better for Indiana.
Joe's face.
Yes, it is working
what
better.
What Cignetti's doing is very similar to what Tom Herman was doing.
It is. It really is. It's just it just works better because
it's just successful.
He's got more Colin Johnsons and Little Jordan Humphreys.
Good call.
So what's really been the trying to think of where to like, is it experience? Is it development? Is it like what's helped this team aside from, again, it's almost like the Ohio State argument. It's the ecosystem. When you've got Fernando doing what he's doing and you've got what's the receiver's name? Omar
Cooper.
Can't remember. Cooper. When you've got those guys making plays, it helps with everything. But still, they're pushing guys around as well.
Yeah, sort of. They do a pretty good job. They're very. I mean, y'all laugh. They remind me a lot of just the 2018 Texas line. They get hats on the right people. They don't make mistakes. They're all experienced. They don't give up bad plays. They get decent push. Their fullback, Nowakowski, adds a lot of the oomph to their run game. And they're all they have a system, and then they have experienced guys who all fit the mold of what they need, and they just go out and they get a lot of draws. They get a lot of draws and a few wins. And draws and wins add up to undefeated because you're not taking L's.
Good call.
I like that. What is it? You can't go broke taking a profit, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's, you mentioned it is a credit to their offensive line coach who's from Wisconsin, kind of knows what to look for and has an idea, but they're not big and bulky either. So, and we live in a world where big humans is a hashtag, but not an effective strategy all the time. So
their collective is their strength.
Say again?
Their collective is their strength.
The line, not the NIL.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. The collective O-line is their strength. Everyone understands their role. Everyone is very in line with what is expected from them. And that's why I think you see them have such success.
They're all tall.
And you know what? They're going to be tested. Miami's front, this is going to be a fun test, I believe. Because Miami, obviously, we can go on, but that I love that Miami front. I think they're playing really, really well right now. That it's going to be someone's going to give. I'm eager to see that.
So, Ian, I think this first paragraph is critical. The success of the offensive lines listed above what appears to suggest that the key to building a winning line is to have a vision for what the unit's trying to accomplish that results in successful evaluation, development, and alignment toward that purpose. Without a system to guide personnel choices and help the big guys up front, you don't get championship results. If the system is in place, the big guys don't necessarily have to be as talented. Do you see Texas, have they flip-flopped their, at least kind of their run game system a little bit too much to have what you see as essential?
It seems like Texas's system is be quick and good in pass protection at every position, which makes sense. But then that means you have to recruit large, quick people and give them lots of experience to master everything at 3 or 4 positions every year on your offensive line. So the Texas system is not necessarily making this process easier for them. Like Indiana runs inside zone and RPOs a lot, and they do a lot of things to help their line. Miami just get big and push people out of the way and then punt if you have to.
Oh, mute button got you. Oh, no. No, I think where you were going with is like, okay, Texas is RPO 1 year, and then it's Ian, does your mic work?
Something went weird with his mic because he's miming now, and if he's miming, he is doing a really good job. Like, I'm impressed. Like, that's a skill.
Well, I mean, let's think about the Texas offense.
Hold on, let's get Ian's mic right back. Hold on. All right, come back. See if we try this now, Ian. He's on mute. Now he's on mute. Now he's off. Say something, Ian.
Yeah, when did I go out?
Not sure, but we got you back. That's all that matters.
Not good.
The Miami will punt. They'll either push people around and punt, and then you were getting into what Texas does.
Well, Texas, it needs like nimble pass protectors at as many positions as possible. And then they have to learn how to execute a wide array of schemes. So you're selecting for needing as much of the hardest thing to have. The hardest thing to have is an experienced guy who's quick enough to be a pass protector and large enough to be a big obstacle. And that's like Indiana is like, if we have one of those guys, everybody else can be an experienced guy that we're going to help out. He just needs to know who the right guy to hit is. Texas's system is not making things easier for them. It's making things harder. It's raising the bar for what they need at different positions. So you end up with this deal where they were recruiting like one prize tackle every year in recruiting, and then a bunch of prospects. And it's like they almost needed to be recruiting like 2 or 3 left tackles every year.
It's hard to get 3 left tackles per class.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's a reason they didn't. There's a reason they didn't pull it off, but now they have to go to the portal. So,
Do you think if Texas, instead of being an inch deep and a mile wide in their offense, starts to actually major in some stuff, that it'll help all these players? It's cliche, but slow down and not think and just do what their job is.
yeah, it would, and it would probably help in development too. But that's not the system, so that's not what they're going to do. It's not like it's Kyle Flood either. This is coming from the head coach. This is the head coach's NFL system. So
We'll keep seeing all of it. So explain a little bit why, you look at some of the players Texas is targeting, that they have committed, that Texas has coming back. If they're going to keep doing this thing where they need high quality pass protection, and I think some of the things we forget about is just the length of time some of these plays take to develop for Texas. It requires pass protection. To get an extra high-end pass protector for Texas makes a whole lot of sense.
yeah, they're gonna. I mean, I'm sure they're gonna have to go to the portal again.
Yes. But for 2026, yes.
Yeah, or 2027. You mean?
I mean, 2026 for 2026 too. I think you want
Well,
the best.
for sure for 2026, they're already doing that. But let's say they get Seton. Like we said this at the beginning of the show, you get Seton, you're in good shape because you can just start Seton, Baker, Gooseby.
Baker wouldn't start. Baker wouldn't slide to guard. Baker would be the swing tackle behind Seton and Gooseby.
I don't know about that.
It's January.
I'm just telling you what a source told me a couple days ago.
Okay.
Baker's not aggressive enough. He's not physical enough to play interior. The defenses would figure that out, and they would attack him like they attacked Nick Brooks.
Okay. Well, if that's the plan, then that just raises the bar even higher.
I agree.
Because now you need 2 winning guards.
They've always needed 2. That they're still trying to get to.
I feel like you could play Sikorsky if you have 3 experienced tackles on the field.
I think so too.
If you're looking at Baker going to the bench, then you need. I don't know if you can play Sikorsky as easily. Because now you're depending on the caliber of the other guards that they acquire in the portal.
I don't like forgetting about the players that they have on the roster in the course of this whole portal discussion, but it's also like, well, if
there are no more players left on the roster, so
yeah. Well, I mean, you're the one that put Jaden Chapman in the story, and so if they don't see the field. Yeah, okay. How much benefit of the doubt are you actually trying to give to someone about, with Kyle Flood after this past season? So, I think it's a complicated thing. You need to upgrade the talent. You need to add depth as well. I think they've done the depth part. The next question that everybody wants to see is the talent part. And so it's just kind of like, okay, what's next? Well, they shot for the moon to try to take guys off the not literally, but try to snag Michigan guys who visited, and they went back to their old school. The first real portal O-line loss was Brunner, and he's going to go play for Indiana. So I think I think we've got a good idea of what the floor for this offensive line room is going to be, but we don't have no clue what the ceiling is going to be quite yet.
Amen.
And that's going to be a complex issue over the next couple of days. And as Eric calls it, the need over the next couple of days.
You know what I would be doing if I were them? You know what I would be doing if I were them? I'd be going to G5s and Big 12 schools and recruiting their tackles to come play guard.
Yeah.
I think they're already I think a lot of them schools are already kind of doing that, Ian.
I mean, it's not. It only makes things just a little bit easier. But at
Right.
least
Well, like this Barton kid coming in today from Jackson State, talking to a source over there at Jackson State on the staff, he said, look, strong kid, raw kid, plays tackle, not sure he can play guard. Like you're going to have – I know I like that mentality where you're talking about. It's just the execution has got to be a little pretty precise.
they don't think he can even play guard, this guy.
No, that I'm telling you from a staffer at Jackson State, they said this kid is a tackle. They said playing guard might be a little bit different.
Well,
But he's depth. That's not a guy that
they need him to be. They need him to play tackle in the future. So
they're not looking for this particular player to come in and start.
Yeah. But
This
you
is
need
like
him.
a Nick Brooks trade off in a sense.
Yes.
Roster full of Nick Brooks. Before we keep going, got to show some
Yo.
love to our other sponsor. That is Andre the Lawyer.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results: Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
My computer's acting a little.
Joe's mic. Oh, okay, there he is.
My computer's acting a little bit slow. Trying to y'all are familiar with our guy Stats of War. I'm trying to pull up his site to get a little bit of talk about the national title game and see what his numbers say about it. But just kind of
that. There's an interesting comment that says that it asks, "Tell me again, how many championship games did Muschamp have in his previous stay?" Lots of hype, zero action. 2 championship games in the last time he was at Texas. The Big 12 championship game where they shut down Nebraska and basically won with defense. And then the national championship game where they had Alabama's offense on the ropes. And I believe who was the quarterback? It was that.
Didn't Muschamp win win a national title with Saban at LSU?
One also with Saban at LSU. And they had McElroy, Greg McElroy, whatever that guy's name is. Threw like 11 passes.
South Lake Carroll's least.
He threw like 11 passes and got he took maybe like 17.
Sergio Kendall, 2.5 sacks.
17 pass attempts and 6 sacks or something crazy against the Texas defense. Just defending the honor of our guy Muschamp. Yes. He was awesome.
Yeah, Muschamp has experience in title games.
Calling Will Muschamp overhyped as a head coach, very defensible and probably agreeable. Calling him overhyped as a defensive mind, I'm not sure you're going to find very many people to agree with that.
Not happening.
He also
He
won
might be in a stage of his career where he knows his role. He knows what he's best at, what lane he is. He drives the smoothest. And I think that sometimes helps you become a better, position coach.
He was also at Georgia for both of their national championships.
Oh, that's right.
He was the defensive coordinator for one of them.
That guy's got a room probably with a bunch of rings on. Got people on YouTube
4.
asking him if he has any title experience. Bling, bling.
If he can wear SEC championship rings, he could probably fill either finger with rings.
Yeah.
And
he ain't Bill Russell.
Most importantly, didn't he win an AFC East?
Were
they a wild card team that year with
They
Saban?
might have been. I think they had like a 9-7 year.
Yeah. Well,
Who are y'all talking about?
he was with the Dolphins.
I didn't know that. I'd forgotten that. I didn't remember that.
Let's get a little title talk in here because I'm not sure if this channel will talk about it a whole lot.
It's the last game of the year, Joe.
And then this is our guy, Stats of War. I love using this. I'll try to zoom in on it as much as I can. It is, there's a way to dip your toe into analytics, and this is, I think, a good way. Blue is good, and you can tell that there's a whole lot of blue and basically no red. You can see a lot of top 10 stats. EPA, expected points added, is basically like if you snap the football, how many points can you expect to come from that play? And if let's say you're going on like a 7-play drive or a 3, I don't know exactly how the math works, but if you're adding bits and pieces of points every play, that's positive. Ian, the long and short of it is both these offenses are extremely efficient. They don't give things away. And when they need to get the explosive play, they can find it, whether it be through a Mendoza pass or through a Malachi Tony incredible play.
Yeah, both Miami in particular, I feel like has a little bit of a plotting approach. They beat Ole Miss mostly because Carson Beck turned a couple of 3rd and longs into 4th and shorts, and they just ran the ball in, and then he scrambled for the winning touchdown. So they are they're kind of plotting, I think, and I've used it as a criticism of them all year, but they've been able to get to this point because they're so consistent in short yardage.
They have if you see it, it's the light blue right here. It's rush rate over expected. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like how often do they run the ball compared to other defenses or other offenses, and it looks like they may even lag behind a little bit, but for a Power 5 team to be in the top 30, that's pretty impressive. The high level thing I'm looking at quality drive ratio, which I think is basically like, do you get a first down in opponent territory or do you score at a minimum? Indiana gets 71% of their drives to be quality. Like 71% of them make it basically to the end zone or to enemy territory. Indiana's not far behind, 2/3 of their drives making it there. Like this may be like a 2.5-hour game too, which is going to be incredible to see. But when you look at the top of the screen, Justin, 20, projection at 25, projection at 22, that sounds about right. Maybe 7 total scores, something like that. Like this could be a game that you're not seeing a whole lot of, just because the time rules limit possessions and limit opportunities for things to go boom, 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 boom.
Well, and these two teams will grind it out on you. They'll try to get physical. They'll try to get structured, and they'll try to do that. Like for me, obviously Indiana's the favorite for a reason. But if Miami plays a clean game, Miami can win. Like that's the problem they've had. We saw that, I think, in the last 2 playoff games. They play really well, and then they shoot about 4 toes off of their foot, and then they still got that nub, and that's what gets them across the finish line. Like it's one of those things where Indiana will pounce on the mistakes. If you screw up, they'll pounce. But it's going to be a close game. What's the line? Like 8.5, 8.5, or something like that? I think it's much closer here. I do think it'll be a closer game. And here's another thing. Miami's field goal kicking is very inconsistent. And if you're going to put together drives and you can't, let's say, convert touchdowns, and you're having issues getting 3 on say a 7, 8, 9 play drive, Indiana, that just helps them out that much more. And so it's just, I think Miami can win if they play an absolutely great game. Carson Beck wears the correct color contact lenses. I think Miami has a shot. But if they start shooting their foot again, Indiana will take advantage of every issue.
Ian, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think Indiana is going to confuse Carson Beck into mistakes that make this game less competitive. I missed the Oregon game live because I had a flag football game, and I got a text from Shane over at Inside Texas, and he was like, "First play, pick 6." And I was like, I think this game is basically already over.
Yeah. And it wasn't the most confusing defense, I don't think. It was mildly disguised, but nothing that Dante Moore had never seen before. Yeah,
that's true. That's kind of just the thing, is that they're already tricky enough in zone with how they disguise and move around. And then they're also good. It really adds up. They play so much zone. Indiana does. They play so much more zone than everybody else, and they play so much Tampa 2 and zone blitzing that other teams just don't see as often because it's kind of hard to teach. It's like very teaching intensive, and Indiana's good at it.
NFL thing, right?
Indiana's good at it.
Blitzing.
Yeah.
Didn't Baltimore, weren't the Ravens really, really good about that in the 2000s?
Yeah, still are.
Yeah. Well, sort of.
Well,
yeah, I got to ask
they
you.
They were really good at it up until their entire defensive staff took like head coaching jobs across the NFL.
Good call. Good call.
But probably hire a mentor and get back to it, right? That it's all Indiana does. Indiana's good at it because it's all they do. They run like 80 or 90% zone coverage or something crazy, like the highest rate in college football or something like that.
One of our members, he will never convince me Indiana isn't cheating.
Where is this
Let me
coming
tell you
from?
something. There's some schools that are cheating, stealing signals. It's pretty common, dude. Wrong tree, wrong hill to die on.
Where is this coming from?
They
Like
have
Dominance being. How could they be so dominant? It doesn't make any sense. How could that happen?
They have a guy on their staff, allegedly, that has a background in cybersecurity. I'll tell you what, if I were going to play Ohio State for a championship every year, I would hire a guy that's good in cybersecurity. That's all I'm going to say.
Connor Stallions ruined it for everybody.
The thing about like sign stealing, if I do like this and people know that's inside zone, it's on me to make sure that people don't recognize that this is inside zone. Like sign deciphering is not a problem. If your signs are decipherable, that's your problem, not the other team's problem. I mean, and I think there's probably enough fear of God put into teams or an understanding that a large enough check will make a problem go away that they don't want to be castigated with sign stealing again. Like, I think they're just good, you know?
There's something to be said about being coached well, getting the most out of your guys, putting them in the best position possible to be successful with the least amount of effort, and that they do that, and they've been doing that. This has been they only get better. I felt like this started beginning of last year, and this only they're only getting stronger. Well, they lost their guy last year, and they got better. Well, they lost this guy, and they got better. Like, I just think this thing is just a continuous train right now. The dominance is everyone being aligned and having the right guys at the right spot at the right time. A Pat Coogan, a Fernando Mendoza, a kid with a 160 IQ that's 24 years old. I would love for my quarterback to think like that. That could be like a physicist or something. And so it's coaching. It's discipline. It's Cignetti took the best of Nick Saban. And he took the best of his dad and he put them together, and he's put together a philosophy that right now there's not a coach I look forward to getting interviewed in college football more. He's so candid. He's so upfront. He's not being a jerk. He's just telling you how it is. And I think, there's got to be some sort of cheating. There's got to be no, brother. This is called doing it the right way.
It's like trying to figure out why U of H and Connecticut and Florida were all in the Final Four last year. It's like, well, they're all older players with young talent sprinkled in who have very, very clear philosophies, and they execute that philosophy very well. I think it's a pretty simple explanation that 24-year-olds who are well versed in a system and who have been doing it for several years and are of commiserate athletic ability can do what they can do at a high level. So
this guy suggests betting and bribes or PEDs. If betting and bribes were the path, it wouldn't be Indiana, because there's definitely wealthier programs in Indiana. PEDs, I'll tell you, they do lift heavier than they do at Texas, at Indiana. They do believe in old school things like putting really heavy weights on the bars and picking them up and putting them back down. So that definitely helps them.
I mean, I think it's all pretty simple. And Justin, I think you mentioned it well. Like, I was listening to a podcast about it. Like, he was a Saban acolyte where he could have gone to UAB. But instead, he goes to his dad's old school and then grinds up through Division II. Like, he got the best of everything.
He's won at every level. The system works. You know what it kind of reminds me of? Without kind of the attitude, Jim Tressel. Same MO, same plan. Started off small school route, built it up, had a philosophy, brought that into Ohio State, and it was a machine until tattoos became popular.
All right, picks. What do y'all think?
I don't think Miami can play a fully clean game. I think they can make plays. I think they can be explosive. I think Mark Fletcher is going to be the best running back on the field. They run duo better than anybody in the country. They're going to try to like out physical Indiana. I'm real eager to see how that plays out, but I don't think Miami can play a clean enough game. I think it'll be a good game, but Indiana doesn't make mistakes. They don't make penalties. They don't turn the ball over. They're just so surgical. I just hope it's a pretty good game because they've been blowing out every other really good team in college football for the last month. Give me something I can stay involved in. My son's mother is a Miami grad, so he's got some U love. Let's just make it something we can watch. But by seeing the last 3 games Indiana played, guys, that's a machine right now.
I think it's going to be unwatchable. I think the best
like Georgia at TCU unwatchable. That was like blinding by the light unwatchable.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Yeah, but you think it's one-sided.
I think the best bet for beating them was Oregon, because Oregon was more talented than Miami. They had a better quarterback, and they'd played them before, so they knew what they were getting into. So you would think like Oregon's second chance at Indiana, this is probably going to be the best punch anybody throws at Indiana. And yeah, it just turned out that Indiana getting a second punch was the more meaningful dynamic in that one. So,
and don't forget, Miami's not a team that comes back. If you get a couple scores up on them and you force Carson Beck to go vertical, brother, it's going south fast.
That's the thing.
There's one thing we've not talked about: the headset battle. Kurt Signetti, Mario Cristobal.
There's a lot of problems here.
Who do you trust to manage? Who do you trust to manage timeouts and things like that? Like we have not had a classic Mario moment quite yet, but man, those lights are going to be real bright on Monday night, and I think we're due for one. I really think we are. So it'll be a whole lot of fun to be talking about this. We got a lot of transfer portal news to talk about over at Inside Texas. We're tracking visits. We're tracking Jordan Seaton. We're tracking the offensive line, the need, and we're tracking it all over at Inside Texas. So come join InsideTexas.com. Use that first link in our description or pause the video, scan that QR code at the top of the screen. Join for 50% off the annual subscription price. The best place to come get your Texas intel. We can't wait to see everybody over there. Of course, like this video, subscribe to the channel. Ian, speaking of what's coming on this channel, what's coming out on the deep dive later today?
Me and Paul did a deep dive into Cam Coleman's Auburn film. There's only a few snarky comments about Jackson Arnold. It's mostly deep dive into all the things that Coleman does well.
Ian, I got to know, just give me a little brief tidbit. Does Paul like the Cam Coleman move? Does he like that? Does he feel like that's going to help the passing game?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm watching. I'm in.
Good enough for me.
Most excited we are about anything that's going on at Texas is getting Cam Coleman. Maybe we'll see
how excited Joe was specialist weekend a couple weekends ago. You hadn't seen excited.
Hey, well, those are going to matter, Joe. I'm with you. They needed those in 2024.
Yes. Texas has an SEC championship if they had that. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Don't discount specialists. Thank you for watching IT Live presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. We'll see you next time.